This is WABE's Week in Review, the show where we look back at the last few days of stories from your WABE News team. I'm Alex Helmick, managing editor of WABE News. For an update on protests and demonstrations in the metro Atlanta area currently going on, be sure to follow us on our social media channels as well as 90.1 FM and, of course, at WABE.org. Speaking of those protests, Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr is threatening domestic terrorism charges for anyone who incites violence during this weekend's planned protest against the Trump administration. It's not the first time domestic terrorism charges are brought against protesters in Georgia. WABE's Shemaine Cruz told us about it.
Carr's warning follows days of largely peaceful demonstrations in Los Angeles over immigration raids. On Tuesday night, a similar protest on Buford Highway ended with tear gas, smashed police cars, and several people arrested. In a statement, Carr said all Americans have the right to peacefully protest, but not to destroy property or attack law enforcement. And violence for the purpose of changing public policy can be considered domestic terrorism and carry a sentence of up to 35 years in prison. Advocates have said the charges are a scare tactic.
Law enforcement can monitor protests, they can enforce laws, they can intervene for public safety.
That's Maribel Hernandez with the ACLU during a recent Know Your Rights training held online.
But they cannot use force to retaliate against peaceful demonstrations. And again, the demonstrations we plan on having on Saturday will be indeed peaceful demonstrations.
Domestic terrorism charges used to be rare in Georgia, but that changed about 2 years ago with the escalation of protest over the construction of Atlanta's public safety training center dubbed Cop City by opponents. The ACLU recommends protesters carry a valid government-issued ID, turn off biometrics to unlock phones, and exercise the right to remain silent. Rallies are set to take place across the country on Saturday, coinciding with a military parade Trump is holding in Washington, D.C. The Atlanta rally will be held in the morning near the state capitol. Shemaine Cruz, WABE News.
Well, more than 400 CDC staffers in Atlanta previously terminated by the Trump administration's DOGE cuts are getting their jobs back. As WABE's Jess Mador reported, the rehirings come as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has also named 8 replacements for some CDC vaccine advisors he abruptly dismissed this week.
Kennedy terminated all 17 members of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, an independent panel of scientific experts who help inform CDC immunization policy for the nation. His new advisors include COVID vaccine skeptics and critics of coronavirus lockdowns. Among the terminated employees getting their jobs back, at least for now, are dozens at the National Center for HIV, Viral Hepatitis, STD, and Tuberculosis Prevention, and the National Center for Environmental Health. Union officials continue to push for the Trump administration to bring back all CDC employees who've been let go. Jess Mador, WABE News.
Georgia advocates say the fight to preserve Head Start is far from over. Earlier this year, national media outlets reported that drafts of the White House's budget proposal eliminated the federally funded free childcare program for low-income families. Then, in early May, the White House revealed a budget proposal without those cuts. WABE's Mei Shu reported the story.
This early Head Start facility is a lifeline for 16 toddlers and their families in the small city of Winder, Georgia.
Hey, how are you all? Good, how are you? Good to see you all.
That's Andrea McMichael, the Chief Education Officer of the YMCA of Metro Atlanta. She greets the kitchen staff at the Barrow County YMCA.
We provide 2 hot meals a day, so that's breakfast as well as lunch and a snack.
Today, some of the 1-year-olds are having dramatic playtime, meaning they take on different roles and act them out.
You want to put this in your bag?
You a doctor?
There you go.
Are you a doctor?
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome.
McMichael says Head Start programs like this one do more than just provide free food and childcare. They also prepare kids for kindergarten.
It's all about exposing the children as early as 6 weeks to language and literacy.
Last year, Georgia received $289 million in federal funding for the program. More than 23,000 children were enrolled. But this year, Head Start providers were afraid that funding could have been at risk after early reports of the president's budget proposal revealed plans to eliminate the program. Ultimately, it didn't, and neither did the giant tax package that passed out of the House. And yet,
there's still kind of a far way to go before we're confident that Head Start is actually safe.
Mindy Binderman is the executive director of the Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students. Binderman says part of the reason why programs like Head Start are important is the cost of childcare.
Childcare is critical so that families of all incomes can go to work. And childcare is expensive in Georgia.
The program has been life-changing for Brittany Steele. Her child is enrolled at a Head Start program provided by a Sheltering Arms Educare Center in Atlanta.
It's been a choice whether I'm going to be in a career or if I'm going to pay childcare. So having access to affordable and no-cost care has allowed my family to actually thrive.
In addition, Head Start staff help families access housing or financial assistance. When Vanessa Canales moved to Winder and enrolled her son in Early Head Start, the program's family services specialists helped her find a nearby food pantry, free diaper drives, Medicaid services, nutrition assistance programs, and more.
If I didn't have the program, I wouldn't know what to do next.
Head Start also assesses and provides support for children who need extra assistance. Staff helped Ivory Shailene get an individualized education program for her son, who has autism.
And when I tell you, everyone showed up to his IEP meeting, I had 8 staff members here to support us through that. So I will say Head Start has been great for us. Yeah, and for the things my son needs.
HHS has closed 5 of its 10 regional offices around the country that help in the administration of Head Start as part of a restructuring plan. The Atlanta office was not affected. The agency also laid off 40% of employees in the Administration for Children and Families, which encompasses the Office of Head Start. Last month, however, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy said Head Start would receive the necessary funding. A spokesperson for the department said the reorganization is meant to streamline operations, but providers say the program lacks funding as is. Here's Blythe Robinson, the president and CEO of Sheltering Arms.
We really need to be talking about preserving Head Start and increasing investments in Head Start and early learning.
The Early Head Start Center in Winder has a wait list of 50 kids. It's applied for an expansion. Mei Shu, WABE News.
Georgia Republicans in Congress joined with nearly all of their GOP colleagues on Thursday in voting to claw back federal funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. WABE's Sam Greenglass had more.
The rescission resolution was co-sponsored by Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and would cut $7.4 billion for international aid programs and more than $1 billion for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. WABE receives about 10% of its annual budget from CPB. The vote was 214 to 212, with 4 Republicans joining Democrats to vote against the measure. 2 Republicans flipped their votes at the last minute amid intense lobbying from party leadership. President Donald Trump made a final push in the hours before the vote on social media. The resolution now heads to the Senate, which will vote ahead of a July 18th deadline. Sam Greenglass, WABE News.
Georgians are voting for public service commissioners for the first time in years after a voting rights lawsuit delayed 2 election cycles. 2 seats are on the ballot in next week's primary. WABE and Grist climate reporter Emily Jones spoke with most of the candidates, and she sat down with WABE Deputy Managing Editor Molly Samuel to share what she learned.
Hey, Emily.
Hi, Molly.
So let's start with the basics. What is the Public Service Commission, and why should our listeners care about who's on it?
Well, it's a 5-member panel that regulates utilities in Georgia, and the biggest thing it's responsible for is overseeing Georgia Power. That means these 5 people have final say over how the state's largest electric utility makes its energy and how much it charges. So whether to keep using coal plants or close them, how much solar to build, the 6 bill increases that we've seen over the last 3 years, that is all up to the PSC.
So 5 total seats, 2 are on the ballot this year, although we should stress these elections are statewide, so regardless of where you live, you can vote for both. Emily, tell us about the first one.
Yeah, so the first seat is District 2, where the current commissioner is Tim Echols. He is well known for his support of solar and nuclear. He has a radio show. He does appearances all around the state. And Echols told me that he's accessible to voters, and he thinks that his work speaks for itself.
If you want me to continue with my enthusiasm and all that I put into this job in creating this great environment that we have in Georgia that attracts so much business. Hey, that's why you should keep me.
And Eccles has a challenger in the Republican primary, right?
That's right. Lee Munns is running against him. Munns has a background in power plant construction, particularly nuclear plants. And like Eccles, he thinks that Georgia needs more nuclear energy. But Munns was very critical of how the PSC handled the nuclear construction at Plant Vogtle, which famously came in years behind schedule and double its original budget.
I'm all about schedules. I'm all about cost controls. I'm all about quality. I'm all about safety. And I want to bring all that expertise to the table.
And then whoever wins the Republican primary between Eccles and Munns will face Democrat Alicia Johnson in November.
What about the other race for District 3? That one's a lot more crowded, right?
Yes, there are 4 Democrats running, but one of them, Daniel Blackman, has been disqualified. The remaining candidates include Peter Hubbard, who for the last several years has intervened in PSC proceedings to try to push Georgia Power towards solar and other sort of alternative solutions. He told me the commission should be more critical of the utilities' plans and more responsive to regular Georgians.
I see a lack of accountability among the folks at the Public Service Commission towards those residential electricity ratepayers or customers, those hardworking Georgians.
Then there's Robert Jones, who worked as an analyst for utility regulators in California. He's critical of what he calls the rules and tools that the commission is currently using to oversee Georgia Power, which he says are outdated.
The commission has, in my opinion, been overly generous and favorable toward Georgia Power.
And then finally, there's former state rep and Atlanta City Council member Keisha Shawn Waits. She declined to be interviewed, but told me in an email that, quote, Georgians deserve a fighter at the table, someone who understands the impact rising utility bills have on everyday families.
So with that many candidates, could we see a runoff?
It's very possible. If none of these Democrats get 50% of the vote, the race will go to a runoff on July 15th, and then the winner will face the Republican incumbent in District 3, Fitz Johnson, in the November election. And just as a reminder, the primary is this coming Tuesday, June 17th, and registered voters anywhere in the state can vote for both of these seats.
That's WABE's Emily Jones and Molly Samuel. For more on the Public Service Commission, head to wabe.org/PSC. Emily's reporting is made possible through a partnership with Grist. You're listening to WABE's Week in Review with me, Alex Helmick. Well, Georgia high school students are trying to create businesses that solve problems like food waste, complex medical billing, unsafe transportation for kids. It's through a new program from Emory's Goisetta Business School and 21st Century Leaders. WABE's Marlon Hyde met with students in the first ever class to graduate.
All right, we're going to go ahead and...
On an April afternoon, a large college classroom at Emory's Goisetta Business School is packed with well-dressed high school students from across Georgia.
Good morning, everyone.
They are presenting their business ideas.
We are the Alpha Noodles, and today we're here to present Job Hive, an app that lets teenagers get real jobs real fast.
That's Lokesh Pampati, a recent graduate from Chapel Hill High School, introducing his group's business, Job Hive. It's an app that would allow teens to search for opportunities and connect with potential employers, kind of like LinkedIn, but just for teens.
During this program, we made an app that really resonated with me and what my values were, which is helping people, and we help teenagers with our app that we created.
Pampati is one of the student ambassadors for 21st Century Leaders, a local nonprofit organization that trains Georgia high school students to find and maybe develop their business skills. They also graduate and get a certificate.
First thing I'm going to do is make a post about it on LinkedIn.
Pampati's app didn't win. A medical billing app project did. But still,
getting my certificate was amazing.
Amazing, he says, because he was in the program's first class. So was Tessa Hayes.
So we wanted to be able to allow students to do these extracurriculars and they get home safely without having to worry about, because we don't have access to Uber in my town or anything like that.
Hayes' rideshare app is designed for students in low-income and rural parts of the state, like Jefferson County High School, where she'll graduate next year.
It's about 2.5 hours away from Atlanta. It's really, it's a poor area and our schools are really underfunded.
For Tessa Hayes, the experience was more than just academic.
As someone who's more on the introvert side, kind of shy, it really pushes you out of your shell.
Tessa is so special.
Delaria Ridley was Hayes' mentor in the program. She's a recent MBA graduate from Goizueta Business School.
She knows how to really lead a team. So I've seen her step up in ways as far as redirecting the team, making sure the team is on schedule.
Over the one-year program, the high school students build their business pitches in groups with mentors on a monthly basis.
As a high school student, being able to say that a prestigious top 20 business school awarded you a leadership certificate is definitely nothing small.
And I think this program will only continue to grow.
That's Kate Hewitt, the program's executive director.
We all understand that, education in the future will look differently for a lot of people. And so offering some type of credentialing, certificates that help open more doors for our students are really important to us.
Hewitt says 21st century leaders and Goizueta plan to expand the program and hope to set a standard.
That's going to be really looked at, I think, across not only the state, but we hope across the country of ways to support our students in innovative ways beyond traditional, education and programming that we might have thought about before.
And spread their motto.
21st century leaders, how do we feel?
We feel good. Oh, we feel so good. Oh!
Marlon Hyde, WABE News.
That's all for the show this week. My thanks to the WABE News team for all the great work. Get more at WABE.org. I'm Alex Helmick. Thank you for supporting WABE and for listening to The Week in Review.